consultants, engineers, contractors, collaboration. We really do love to listen, collaborate, listen to the land, listen to the context, respond to the science.
Hi, my name is Heather Gale Holdridge. I'm the Director of Design Performance with Lake Flato Architects. I work with all project teams to set sustainability goals for projects and then track them throughout the design process. In addition to the design principles that David described that drive our design process, we also think of social justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion as being an important part of environmental sustainability. Our firm has pursued the JUST label, which we think of as being a very important first step at being more transparent about our social justice at our firm.
We're going to talk about two projects today, the Austin Central Library and the Confluence Park. We're currently also working in Colorado, and at the very end, the dessert will be a fast track construction video of the DU project. Over 35 years ago, Lake Flato began, and we are always, Ted Flato and I are always inspired by buildings that were exhibited their particular place, fitting of their context, built from the land. In the case of these images, these are our lovely barns and silos that exhibit that great American word, ingenuity, making the most with the least. I especially like these cow shaders, and they led us to a journey of creating architecture in the case of the Carraro house, of recycling an old cement plant into a home in the landscape that has a large screen porch and very much connected to the environment. And the screen porch is actually the best room and the largest room of that house, which then led us to other forays into the wild, such as the World Birding Center near the Rio Grande Valley, which is recalling the silos of Texas with corrugated metal roofing that is both sheltering and the roof itself, and prefabricated, to barns even. And our mentor, O'Neill Ford, said that he never met a barn that he didn't like, and that's certainly true with us as well. We are really excited about what we do and how we do it. And we have an office of 120, an office in Austin, an office in San Antonio. Every year we go out to West Texas, to the West Fork of the Upper Nueces on a retreat. And it's called Flake Lato because we used to get mail to Flake Lato, and it became such a joke that we call that our retreat. And we enjoy building together itinerant shade structures that will protect us from the sun and shade us, and we grill and joke and swim and enjoy one another. Building buildings, crafting buildings, designing buildings is such a rigorous journey that it's so important for us all to enjoy one another and our clients and the occupants of our buildings, and to watch the buildings emerge. So I grew up in Austin. It was really important for the library that the library be really exuberant and capture the spirit of Austin, keep Austin weird. What that really means is being outdoors and enjoying the outdoors. And citizens in Austin never had kind of a destination that they could go to and see the river and Lady Bird Lake and the confluence of streams and creeks into the Colorado River. So finally, the library was an opportunity to create screen porches, and in this case, a rooftop garden that doubles as an event space, a butterfly garden.
The Austin Central Library Integrated Design Workshop was a really important milestone in our design process. We brought together a group of not just the design and construction team, but all project stakeholders, including the owner, the users, neighborhood residents as well, to come together and really set a vision for what we wanted the Austin Central Library to be. And sustainability was a very big part of that vision. We set a very ambitious goal for the library to be the best daylit library in North America. We also felt that as a civic project, it was our responsibility for the building to serve as a model of stewardship and conservation for what responsible water use looks like.
The library is shaped by light. And we wanted the library to be the best daylit library in the United States. In order to achieve that, we had to think about how light comes into the building, is reflected, and dispersed throughout the building. So this section shows how the lantern becomes both a reflector and a means of beaming light down 5 stories within the building. And we created daylighting models, so we were out in the park on the left, playing with a big 1/4-inch scale model to adjust what's the best shape of the actual aperture of the roof and how does that light beam into the space. And we used computer modeling and infrared modeling and worked with integrated design labs in Seattle to tweak our sections and really make sure that 80 to 85% of the building area is daylit. This is the image that shows the aperture, the 8-foot wide frosted skylight that is beaming light straight down 5 stories, and then the clear story, which is bouncing light into the upper areas of the building. A look up from the bridges to the skylight aperture and the nature of how light is beaming and bouncing and reflecting and refracting throughout a 5-story space. So it really does become Austin's living room. So in order for the library to become a library of the future, it was really important that every floor level felt like it had its own living room, its own purpose, its own connection to the outdoors. In the case of level 3 here, where kids can play chess, go into the children's area through round apertures and have reading moments, and then the teens could go and be on their own and away from the family and do whatever in the world teens do in their own space. Looking out to Shoal Creek to the east, and then at certain parts of the building is very much a stone civic building, weathering, purposeful, permanent, a sense of a real, not just a repository for books, but really the civic presence and the passing and sharing of knowledge. And then within the building, there are always means of looking out through large openings to Shoal Creek, Lady Bird Lake, with glass bridges, wooden bridges, a real array of means of moving through the great 5-story living room space. At the street level, there is a store, a restaurant, a great event space, and we were purposefully putting program at the street level that would animate the streetscape and actually make the city better and make the cityscape better and more active. So the event space holds 650. They have many events, whether it's for AIA awards or all kinds of nonprofit groups, always coming and going. So there's this ebbing and flowing of people using the library, not only to share knowledge and to meet and make community, but also even to do startups in some of the shared conferencing spaces throughout the library. This section shows the east-west section looking down to Shoal Creek and how the aperture of the great atrium is beaming light down 5 stories. So, to make the library shaped by light, we determined that it was really important. This is the south facing the lake, Shoal Creek. It was important to get all the opaque program, elevators, bathrooms, mechanical cores, stairs, in these 3 quadrants, so that the darkest part of the building would be filled with opaque matter. So as we evolve, the yellow indicates the east-west core of the atrium, beaming light in. And so this is the internally lit zone, and the perimeter lit zone. And that's how we got to 85% daylight. So we made many models. This is one. And this is a view from Shoal Creek. So this is running east-west. So this is the top lit skylight. It beams with a white skylight down 5 stories into the building. And from the south, where Heather is, light comes and bounces off this roof, off of this ceiling, and down in, bouncing back into levels 5 and 6. From the north, this clear story brings light and beams it in on the south end of the east-west bar. So as we built lots of models, and this one shows how the core, those 3 big opaque pylons, elevators, stairs, restroom, mechanical, are in these 4 quadrants, allowing the atrium to run east-west with views out to the east and downtown. The western view is less desirous, hot. South views to the lake, really great daylighting, north daylighting. And this was a really nice way of thinking about and showing the library how this atrium was different as you moved up from floor to floor. This bottom level, and level 2 effectively, is the great arrival, where you come and you're a family and kids go to the kids area and teens split off. And you move up and there's a reading room that's double height. So in all variety of spaces throughout the building. So, Heather.
Yeah, and from every approach from this building looks completely different because it is tuned to its unique daylighting and sun angle needs. So as David said, the west facade, the views aren't quite as desirable there and the heat gain is very serious. So we tuned our shading strategy accordingly. We've got a much denser shading there so that we can make sure that we're blocking that glare that can provide visual discomfort and that we're knocking down that heat gain, which would have increased our energy needs.
So wasn't this 26% glazed by
Sounds
area?
correct.
And the north was 38, 39%, south was about 35%, and the east was somewhere similarly 34, 35%. So as Heather said, every facade is tuned to peripheral daylighting. So we're maximizing daylight, minimizing heat gain on the exterior skin, and beaming light down through this atrium to provide fill-in light in the internal core, and at the same time give them a 100-year building. These are all flat floors, so they can program these floors as they want. And the only things that can't move are these opaque cores, and every other space, every wall is movable. So in terms of a 100-year building, it's eminently flexible.
I think what's really important about having a really well daylit building, it's not always about maximizing. It's about making sure that you're balancing. So again, a lot of attention was paid to making sure that we didn't have any spaces with glare, that daylight was balanced from all sides. And you'll notice that even the placement of the staircases and the walkways throughout the project were carefully placed so that we could make sure we weren't creating any dark spots throughout the library. So we used a variety of tools. This was a physical model was one of our tools. We were also using computer simulation tools as well, constantly testing the impacts of different design decisions that we had and making sure that we were providing really great daylit spaces.
Yeah, so here's this crazy cool section of a butterfly roof facing south, north, this long axis, and the openness as you move through the building. So the shaping of this and the shaping of every floor plate was all modeled physically, as also by computer. And we challenged the daylighting consultant many times, and he challenged us back. So it was a wonderful collaboration.
We also included a large PV array on the Austin Central Library. It's a 180 kilowatt photovoltaic array that tops a pollinator garden. And it's one of my favorite spaces at the library because it's just a really great habitable space, very comfortable throughout the year, great outdoor space with ample daylighting and a really thermally comfortable environment. That large array is actually on the downtown network, and we had to partner with the central utility to come up with an interconnection agreement because before the library, you could not connect to the downtown grid. So this was a really important pilot project on how can we allow larger PV arrays to be interconnected on the downtown network in Central Austin. After setting our water goal for the library, we stumbled upon a really unique opportunity to realize it. During that same integrated design workshop, we were walking the library site and we discovered an underground vault, 373,000 gallons of volume in that vault where we are storing air conditioning condensate and rainwater to supply most of the potable water needs for the project. The only potable water that we have in the project is for showering and drinking. Flushing toilets, irrigation, everything else is supplied by the water that's stored in that vault. So pretty amazing opportunity for us to demonstrate water conservation in a region that is dealing with some pretty serious water shortage issues right now.
Unlike the library, this is a shade structure that we were asked to design to be at the confluence of the San Pedro Creek where it meets the San Antonio River, about 4 or 5 miles south of downtown and between the Alamo and the 4 downriver missions. And Confluence Park was very much shaped by capturing rainwater, harvesting rainwater, and how is it best to funnel rainwater into a cistern and recall how the aquifer in San Antonio and Central Texas gathers rainwater, stores it, and replenishes the ecology of Central Texas through the karst aquifer. It was a really fun and very unique opportunity for us to collaborate with an artist and another architect, one and the same, and come up with an idea of how to craft these memorable shade structures that exhibit not only how to shade one another, but also how to capture rainwater and actually strengthen the ecology at this confluence.
We partnered with Andrew Cudlis of Matsis to design the petals at Confluence Park. So these concrete petals actually take a cue from biomimicry. Biomimicry is the design process of looking to nature to find design solutions that mimic natural conditions. So we studied the natural hydrology of the site. It's an existing site. We studied how did water move through the site pre-development and how could we mimic that through the concrete petals. So the concrete petals actually serve as a collection, a means of storing water so that it can slowly leave the site, filter it, clean it so that once it enters the San Antonio River, it's clean and it provides a high water quality source to San Antonians. One of the most important goals that we set for the Confluence Park project was to make sure that sustainability was demonstrable, and the petals are extroverted for that exact reason. We wanted to make sure that the systems for collecting water and storing water and producing renewable energy were all expressed in the project. So people actually come to Confluence Park whenever there's a rain event. It's a spectacle to see, to watch water being filtered and collected on the concrete petals. So really achieving that goal of making sure that people understand the role of water conservation in our community. Confluence Park is a very beloved amenity in its community. It's become not just a place where people come to learn about conservation in San Antonio, but it hosts a variety of events as well, weddings, birthday parties. It's really become a shared space for people to really make healthy living an integrated part of all aspects of their lives. In addition to the projects that we're doing in Texas, we're working in your region right now as well. The University of Denver has a new Burwell Achievement Center on campus that is completing construction. It's going to be constructed out of mass timber as its structure. So in addition to the carbon impacts that we're always considering with energy and water savings, mass timber is an opportunity for us to reduce the carbon impacts of the building structure. So the project also had some very ambitious goals that were set through its integrated design process and is tracking LEED Platinum. So we'll be very excited to complete that project soon.
All right. Is anyone else feeling inspired to save the planet after those presentations? Well, let's keep the conversation going. Join us at 1 p.m. for a breakout conversation with one of the speakers you just saw. Our moderators will be taking your questions and having conversations with Joyce, Thomas, David, and Heather today in 3 different breakout rooms. Then don't forget to tune in at 2 p.m. to see a panel presentation where we bring all of our speakers back together. And finally, we'll end the day at 4 o'clock with happy hours hosted by peers in your region: Denver, North, South, and West. Join your local colleagues, find out and share more about what's going on near you. We'll see you soon.